John, you good?
I'm good. Let's roll, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, leaders and fighters for freedom and liberty and the American dream, the best is yet to come.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Build It podcast. This week we are joined for the second time, I believe, by Michael Bochel. I can never get it right. Bochel? Bochel, there you go. I'm making you far too European. Phoning in from Scotland. Thank you, my friend. Welcome back. Hope life has been good to you in the interim. Joining me as always is over in DeKalb is John, who's already started taking notes. Probably just how to pronounce your name, I don't know. But hi, John.
Yeah, I was going to make a note of how to pronounce his name for the third time he joined us, so that you'll get it right that time.
Yeah, this is the high level of prep that goes into these things. All right, Michael, we got you back on because we got you on in the first place through your reputation, the podcast, Scottish Football Marketing, which was a revelation to myself and John, and still listening to those episodes. Some of them are dated better than others, but all good. And then since then, you've just recently launched the Marketing and Nonleague Football Club podcast, which was a lovely surprise. And we will talk about that in a minute. But first off, if you just want to give us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why we're touting you as the man who has all the answers.
Thanks for having me back on. First off, I don't know if I've got all the answers, but I'll certainly help with trying to answer some of your questions to see, on this. Yeah, no, look, obviously the last time we spoke, I was head of digital at the Scottish Football Association, the governing body for Scottish football, and looked after the national team, the Scottish Cup, which is the biggest domestic cup competition in Scotland, as well as grassroots football and everything in between. In regards to Scottish football, since then, I've gone out and do my own thing now. So I'm a freelance marketing consultant specialising in sport, and I've been working with some interesting clients so far. It's only started that in January 2022. So I've been working with Scottish Premiership clubs. I've done a project through an agency for an English Premier League club, worked with the Open in the RNA, so that was quite an interesting gig, working with them for a few months in the build up to the 150th Open that happened at St Andrews there, and I've been doing every little bits here and there, and sitting on some advisory boards and lots of different things. So you mentioned the podcast there. One of the things I do in my spare time now that I've left the Scottish Football Association and there's no conflict of interest is I help my hometown club. So I grew up in a small town called Nairn, which is in the Highlands of Scotland, a town of probably about 10,000 people. And I live in Glasgow, so I live 3 hours away by if you're driving, and I help them on as much as I can with their marketing, digital, and raising the profile of the club. And yeah, you referenced the podcast series that I did, so haven't done once I left the Scottish Football Association. That was kind of the end of the Scottish Football Marketing podcast, because it was under the Scottish FA umbrella with Chris, and yeah, not done a podcast really since then. So I was between clients and I had a bit of time, and been doing a lot of work with Nairn County, and decided, what, I'll share some knowledge. I've always got the itch to try and create some sort of content at some point, and the opportunity arose, and I thought, well, let's go and document the journey a little bit. Sort of multiple reasons for it. One, raise my own profile, obviously, keep myself entertained. But secondly, in a roundabout way, if I can help raise the profile of the club a little bit further, then great. I do my own sports marketing newsletter, which I send out every couple of weeks. So it kind of all just tied in nicely with that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, just on that newsletter, I know John and myself have found ourselves on more than one occasion sharing the same article almost at the same time across purposes. So I have found it invaluable. As so much, this is just going to be me blowing smoke up your ass, and I apologise for that. But yeah, it's been great. One of the reasons I love what you do is that obviously when you were part of the Scottish FA and now you're freelancing, you have to go where the money goes, right? You have to go to the national team and to the Glasgow clubs, etc., etc. But it's clear from a lot of the people that you spoke to on the old podcast and the fact that this is Nairn focused for you now, that given all the money you could have, you would far rather be doing this for Nairn and for lower league clubs than at the top end, I think.
Yeah, I've always had a vested interest, especially in Scottish football, that just for the greater good. I think there's a lot of politics in football, especially in Scotland. So, and yeah, you're right. I've been fortunate and privileged to work on some of the highest level football and sport within Scotland. But my heart still lies with the club, and if I can help other smaller football clubs in Scotland. Then that's great. Obviously, they don't have the budgets or sometimes the expertise to do that. So, as I said, I've been privileged to work in environments where I've learned quite a lot, experienced quite a lot, and I've tried to apply that to Nairn County. And if people can pick up one or two things from what I've been doing and apply it to their own clubs, and help raise extra revenue or achieve some sort of goal for their club, then great. It's just about sort of sharing the knowledge and experience without any sort of expectation of return.
It's shoring up the foundation, isn't it? Right. I don't know about the Nairn spectator base, but I'm fairly confident when I say that it's probably aging and by the same token shrinking. So clubs across the board, certainly in the UK, have to do something new and inverted commas exciting and different. And I think that's where the clubs in the US are one step ahead, is that some of us are trying these things. Some of them in the UK are as well, obviously. But there's no predetermined market for us over here. So we have to almost start from scratch. And so there's no, we should do this or we can't do that because it didn't work in 1962 or whatever logic. So Nairn County themselves, and we'll get into the nitty gritty in a sec, but Nairn County, average home gate, give or take?
300, give or take.
Okay, sweet. Lovely. And you said a population of around about 10,000. So,
yeah.
Okay, lovely. So, I mean, most clubs at our level in the US would kill for 300 come through the gates. Let's not be shy about that. But that doesn't give you dollars upon dollars, right? That gives you nothing to play with. So when all of these things that you'll put out on this podcast, you're talking about next to little financial outlay, just the outlay of human resource and human time, realistically.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest investment we've made, and that was a business case that was the website. Everything else has pretty much been, nothing, pennies. If anything, it is, 300 is a good day for us at the moment in time, and that includes some of the freebies that obviously naturally go with a club anyway. So yeah, it's living by your means, within your means, sure. And everything that we've been doing at Nairn is, for the most part, has been with that. As I said, website's the biggest investment we've made. You pick your battles, right? So you've got to throw money at something. For us, usually it's field outlay, right? We have to hire Stadia or whatever, because we don't come with it. So everything else, we have to scrape and save for. So yeah, well, I don't think we're any different this side of the ocean from your side. So let's start out with episode 1, and we're not going to go through binary, but we are. Starting out, how did you approach Nairn, and then how did you get over the sort of the old man resistance to this outsider? Yeah, so fortunate, because I'm not really an outsider in terms of they knew me because I'm from there, and I've known people that were on the committee already, and I'd sent a couple of things their way in terms of information or things that they maybe should do while I was at the Scottish FA, but just left them to it. So when I finished up, my stepdad's involved with Nairn to an extent as well, and he was the one that pretty much said, would you come, ask me, now you're done at the Scottish FA, would you be interested in helping there, and where you can? I was like, yeah. I think they were looking for somebody to come in and just do their social media. If truth be told,
that's what marketing is, though, isn't it? These days, just stick a tweet out.
So I ended up speaking to the club secretary on the phone, and I was like, look, yeah, happy to help where I can. I'll do some stuff in the background, and that's fine. And then next thing you know, I've had committee papers in front of me, and I'm getting signed up officially, and I'm on monthly meetings. And I was like, right, well, I don't really normally do things by half measures, so if I'm going to do something, I might as well do it right. And that was it. So yeah, after a couple of conversations, brought in, but I made it clear that I'm not going in just to do, and don't get me wrong, being sucked into doing day-to-day social media, but I'm here to do far more than that. I'm wanting to really sort of change what happens behind the scenes at the club from a sort of market and digital brand point of view.
All right, cool. So,
hey Nick, I got a question. When you started talking with them, was there a specific goal? Did they say, hey, we want to increase attendance, or like it was just, we want to do better, come tell us how to do better?
Yeah, I think the club's gone through a fair bit of change within the last 5-6 years, and I think they realised that there's certain skills they're lacking within the current committee structure, and they wanted somebody to come in. There was no goals and no objectives, and I think that's one thing that we've had a couple of new faces now involved at the club, and we're like going, what is our plan? Where are we looking to go as a club? We can't just keep looking to put a game on at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. What is it we're trying to do? Do we want to get to a point that we can get promoted? Do we want to become this big community club within the town that offers, recreational football to as many kids and adults as possible? What is it as a club? Who is it we want to be? So there's a lot of work now going on with that. But yeah, look at the time. It was just, can you come in and help us? And as I said, I think they saw it more as social media, but as we all know, it's more that you need to do more than that.
In 4.5 years ago, I met Nick accidentally at a lower league soccer game, a half hour from my house, and I heard his accent, and I said, "Hey, you should come be we're starting a club next year. You should come be our PA guy in the stadium." And now he's the head of all things marketing and hosting a podcast. And so I'm very familiar with the bring somebody in to do one thing and then give them everything they're willing to take. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, smiling through the tears. So if there was no grand plan and Nairn had just lurched from victory to defeat for the last 130 years or whatever, how did you convince, or how are you convincing people that there needs to be a bigger picture, that being a football club, a soccer club, isn't enough?
Yeah, I think first off, my first thing I did when I said before I even joined any of the meetings and officially started was I put together a survey. It was anonymous. I used Google Forms to do it. But it was just a survey, just get an understanding of, what is it that the people in the committee see the club as, the direction they're going, what do we stand for? And from there, if, as you'd expect, it painted a very mixed picture in terms of some people are ambitious, some people thought the club wasn't ambitious enough. I didn't come in as chairman, I didn't come in as anything like that. I had to kind of, as a start, stay in my lane. But I think through the meetings, I was always trying to be quite positive and bring things to the table, and just kept chipping away at these sort of things. Especially, and I don't mean to make sweeping generalizations or sound offensive to others, but dealing with a lot of older people that have been there, seen it, that have maybe tried to force change in the past, but I've been either beaten down with it, or they're just happy with the status quo. And it took as I said, a couple of additional fresh faces being brought in to then strengthen that voice. You
But you
know,
rigged the vote almost.
yeah. So it's not so much. It's about being able to bounce ideas about and going right. Actually, I think we could be looking at this as a club, and this is the reasons why. And then somebody goes, "Oh, well, I want to know more about that," rather than and for all the will in the world, great people on the committee, and I don't have a bad word to say against any of them, but I delivered a marketing plan, go through it. A lot of people going, yeah, that's great, and then nothing. There's no follow up on it, and by all accounts, there've been football strategies put in place, and 5-year plans and all that sort of stuff has happened in the past. So it's not anything that I'm trying to bring in new revolutionary, but there's been no ownership of it really.
Yeah.
It's fallen on other people. So it's been one that having more people of the sort of like-minded to go, right, well, actually, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it properly. As I said, I'm not one to come on and try and do things half-measured. So going, right, well, if we're going to do this, let's do it properly. And it took me a bit so I've been doing it a year, just over a year now, probably 14 months, and I'd say only now really starting to see real progress. Don't get me wrong, managed to achieve a lot in that time, but it takes time, especially at that level, just to chip away at stuff.
Totally. John, you're looking thoughtful. You got something, or should I keep going?
No, I'm very thoughtful. This is the best and worst part about these podcasts is it gives me too many inspiring ideas. No, I just think it's neat to hear, and I think one of the things, Michael, that we struggle with, and one thing that I enjoy working with Nick on is the culture is completely different in the U.S. So the NFL season started this last Thursday, and it's like holidays. Like football's back. That is what this culture is, all NFL. Everybody, there's plenty of soccer people, there's plenty of baseball people, there's all that, but NFL is king here. Yeah. That's the culture that we're trying to, and not erode that, but build this culture for our game that ties that community and those all those things that you talk about of just trying to find out what do we want to become, what do we want to be about. Nick and I talked a little bit ago about some projects I'm working on. He goes, well, it all depends. What's the point? What are we trying to accomplish really? There's a lot of sexy things you can do, but what do we really want to accomplish? What is our primary focus? And then it helps you kind of leverage your, in my role with our club, it helps me leverage my energy towards specific things. And the important part of my relationship with Nick and what he does for our club is that you can do a lot of good things, but if you don't ever tell anybody through the marketing, and that happens a lot, not just social media, but you have to tell people what you're doing and tell your story and all those kinds of things. I know you're aware of all that stuff, but I think that's the interesting part of all this is us in the US are trying to overcome this culture where, we got 30 super passionate people. That doesn't make a football club. That's a Sunday league. So trying to identify some of those things. And I'll tell you, I'm going to admit too, Michael, I'm pissed at myself because Nick sends me a lot of resources to read, to listen to. I have not listened to these podcasts yet. So I will have it done by the end of the day tomorrow, but I'm just reading through them and I want to put you on hold and go listen to them and come back. But
I did tell him. I told him, yeah. But hey ho.
I know. I just don't do what you tell me all the time, Nick. I don't know what to tell you.
And that's the beauty of podcasts. So obviously you can go and listen to them whenever, and I didn't expect everybody to listen to it straight off. And it's an interesting point you made there, John. And I think that culture being different, but I think for clubs like yourself and who a lot of similar ones in any club at any level within the United States, I think obviously you've got the World Cup within 4 years that's happening, and it's about putting, if I was in your shoes and clubs across the country, I'd be going, right, what is our 4 or 5 year plan that is to go? We've got all the foundations in place that so when World Cup fever hopefully hits as many people as you can within the United States, is You know, how do you capitalise on that? You saw within, so it's a similar sort of one, but you know, in England, the women's England national team won the European Championships this summer. All of a sudden, you know, the spikes in people looking to how to play football, women's football, get involved, go and watch. You know, attendances in the Super League are on the app down in England at the moment in time, especially off the back of that. So there's a lot of momentum that can then be taken. And yes, it's 4 years down the line. But if you're looking at going, right, what is that plan for the club, for example? And, you know, for, as I said, for Nairn County, we're now looking at going, how do we expand, you know, our community footballing offering? That it's not just, you know, the first team and our youth teams that go down to under 15 level, I think it is. You know, what is it that we can do more across that gives more people that opportunity, which in turn, hopefully, will then give, and it's not the sole purpose because we just want to do good about the town, but, you know, you hope that you get a bit of bounce off of that as well when more people come into the games.
Don't mind me. I'm just taking notes.
You just write. Okay, cool. All right. I like the idea of focusing on the bigger picture, right? Of like the 4 or 5 year plan. I think right now we as a club and probably as a country are looking at, you know, this upcoming Christmas World Cup, for one of a phrase, which I apologise for mentioning in front of a Scot. I know it's a sore subject, but hey ho. But yeah, I think you're right. It is far bigger than that. There's got to be a bigger plan and a bigger reason for doing what we do, which we will, I'm sure John and I will talk to. You mentioned that you were using Google Forms. That initially, I know this is going back a bit, but that was initially then just an internal survey of the people that basically, very simplistically, had Nairn FC email addresses, for want of a better descriptor.
Yeah, it was the ones that were officially were club officials.
Yeah. So you weren't at that moment you weren't caring about players, you weren't caring about supporters, you weren't caring about any of that stuff. It was just literally.
No, this was just before it started. I wanted to get a lay of the land. I don't live in the town anymore, so I'm not as close to it as it is. But also, when in these situations, especially because I made it anonymous, that people were a lot more open. You know, and
did you get stuff that you genuinely weren't expecting, that you were shocked on either positivity or negative, more than the negativity, I suppose, for people?
I don't know if I was shocked per se. I think, as I said, it was a real mixed bag, and you know, there's some different. I think the different opinions was probably the one that stood out the most. Going, you know, as I said, some people want to be very ambitious. With a club and somewhere just happy to go, and you know, a couple of things need to improve, but everything's great, everything's rosy. Where obviously now being involved for 14 months, not to saying it wasn't rosy or anything, but there's so much more that can be done.
Yeah. The potential always.
I'm curious, as you outline a marketing strategy, you probably didn't intend to initiate every aspect of it yourself. It was kind of like a group effort, right? I need everybody to do their, like, I can see the reaction in your face, right? Like, here's the plan, but everybody needs to contribute to this plan. Is there, without getting anybody in trouble, is there a challenge in kind of managing that expectation then to execute the plan?
Yeah, I think it's probably the thing I've found the most difficult, that because I'm doing this all remotely, and not being in the town, I'm not there on match day. A lot of the match days, I'm not there up and around the ground during the week, or so I'm not there driving it. So if I'm not there driving it, nobody else is really there driving it. Now, I've been fortunate, as I said, starting to see real progress in the last couple of months. We've had a new chairman come on board who has gone through a lot of what I've talked about, and he's followed that. We've had conversations and gone, right, I'll go and organise that. So, for example, we're trying to put something in to give to every. So we've got our equivalent of, I guess it would be elementary schools, primary school, and we've got 4 primary schools in and around there, so there's a couple of villages and stuff like that around there. So we're now, my original plan was to give every primary 3, which is about 7 to 8 years old, a Nairn County top. Now, obviously that's a big investment. We need sponsorship, and what the new chairman's come on board, which is brilliant from my perspective, is he goes, right, we can target every single child within the primary schools, but we can't afford to give them all a shirt, but I can get a sponsorship deal arranged that we can give them all a Nairn County bag, Nairn County ruler, Nairn County notepad, Nairn County branded stuff. So all of a sudden every kid in Nairn of primary school age is now going to have Nairn County branded stuff, which is great. And that means going forward, if this becomes a success, we can then revert back to the original plan of doing every primary 3, because that was all that idea, which was just one idea in the marketing plan, but was inspired by reading research that within the UK, the average age for a child to pick the football team that they're going to support for the rest of their life is 8 to 9 years old. So we're thinking, and we don't expect, we're Nairn County, say this in the podcast, I don't expect kids to go and pick a non-league Highland League team to be their main team. But what we want to do is grow a strong affinity with local children within the town. The chances are within Scotland, they'll support either Celtic or Rangers. Then probably, if not Celtic or Rangers, it'll be Aberdeen or whatever. But there's research, and I don't know if I said this on the last podcast, but when I was at the Scottish FA, there was research done that the top 2 supported teams in Scotland were Celtic and Rangers. But then the third most popular team in Scotland that was getting supported was Liverpool. Then it was Man United, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. It wasn't until you get down to like 9th when it was Aberdeen. And then it's Hearts, a Hibs and stuff like that. So, you're not only just competing with, and we don't see ourselves competing, as I said, but we need to get that affinity. But it's tough for any club out with the top 2 in Scotland to get, fans to not look elsewhere. But for us, it's about growing a stronger bond with the local community.
Totally. That's the only way I think anybody without a massive budget survives. You don't even have to be a Celtic or Rangers. You can be a Dundee. You can be a Inverness, right? You have to just embed yourselves, because the money goes away, but the people don't, I think. All right, I want to crash through this. You said, I think when we were speaking off air, that the biggest, and whilst we agreed that there is no financial budget to talk to, the biggest outlay for you was the website. Yeah. And I mentioned that I think probably for American clubs, it's probably going to be field rental as much as anything else. But talk us through the process of your website, what you thought was needed and what you thought was a luxury.
Yeah, I suppose just caveat, that's when I say biggest outlay for us, that's from a marketing, fan experience point of view. While we own our own ground, we do invest quite a lot of money into that, and obviously we've got the football side of it, which is a massive investment, which takes up the most. But from the marketing point of view, the website, it was being done by a former committee member, which was great. You always rely on people to help with these sort of things. But like anything else online, it kind of aged, wasn't the most responsive. It was very hard to get content updated on it. So what we were lacking, giving the right information out to fans in the end, keeping it fresh. The committee member at the time, didn't have the time to do it, so it was becoming a challenge. So what we needed was something more modern, more responsive from a mobile point of view, and just be able to improve. Whether you're a fan in Nairn County or somebody looking for more information, but try and give a better experience, and give that opportunity to let the website drive more revenue for us as well. So we might come on to it, but we partnered with Fanbase, like a lot of clubs have been doing, and so we can sell digital tickets. We've put a lot more online to be able to do online. So I was like, our website just wasn't pushing that or promoting that and directing people into be able to do that sort of behaviour. We launched new hospitality packages, and it was just a pain and a chore to really promote them properly. So it was needed. It was long overdue, and fortunately, you know, it's been my background, digital, and I went through a whole new website on a far different, bigger scale with the Scottish Football Association, and being involved in other website launches. So one of this size wasn't too tricky for me, but obviously that's only because of my experience and background. But so it was a case of putting together the brief, putting together the structure that we wanted, and getting the right company to do it, and doing it on a lot smaller budgets than I'm used to, but managing to make it work.
I know that when we did our end of season survey, and I know you're big on surveys, I was very surprised by how many people were still getting information from the website. I held my hand. I'm responsible for the website, and I let it slip last year because for various reasons. And I didn't think it mattered. I just thought, like, you know, it's there, it gets updated, but people know they can find up to the minute stuff on social media, or, you know, we email people, and that's fine. But so many people responded like, no, I need the website updated. I was like, oh, really? Okay. So yeah, it is a huge thing, isn't it? It's easy to overlook, I think. Yeah,
it's first off, it's your one that you own. You know, it's your go-to pillar. You know, it's the anchor that everybody can go to. And there's nothing worse than having to go on a Facebook or a Twitter page and try and find what that information you're looking for. But if you know the website, or you're a regular visitor to the website, you'll know where to go. You know where to get the information. Not everybody's on social, and I think that's one that, you know, as marketers, we fall into the trap of, because we use these things, that we just assume other people use them. It's hence why the big things that we looked at, or I looked at when I got into Nairn, was looking at, right, website needs to change, because that needs to improve what we're saying, and information we're providing on that. And email marketing, we had to introduce that, because we were just posting the odd thing onto Facebook mainly. But not everybody's on Facebook, so we had to find different ways to really speak to and get the information out there, and can't just rely on one channel. But you're for us, and I've done it, whether it's been clients or in previous roles, you know, your website's still your anchor. It's still the one where you try to direct people into, or it's the one that will appear in Google searches, or your first point of call for people looking for information on your club. But it's the one that gets neglected, as you said, you know, because it's easy to neglect it and just think there's enough on there. But, you know, your Google Analytics will tell you what people are looking for on that.
Definitely. Do you, John, I'm going to let you go in a second, but I've got to ask this. I always ask this of marketing people. Do you believe email marketing is worth the effort that goes into creating an email?
You asked me this last time, I'm pretty sure.
There you go. I'm going to ask you.
Yeah. You know, I'm big on it. I think, as I said, we're, you know, taking Nairn County, you know, we've managed to, say on the podcast, we've managed to get our database. It's only up over 300 people, but it's 300 people that I know will, you know, 60% of them are reading the information that I'm sending them. Whereas if I'm posting something on Twitter or Facebook, they're not seeing it. You know, at the Scottish FA, and this is on a bigger scale, but the most revenue we would drive for a match would come through the emails that we send. You know, that putting that, rather than, you know, saying, all right, our tickets are on sale, great, so I need to go and search for it, click find it on social or whatever, you know, it's in the inbox there, okay, I'll go and do it now, or whatever. Yeah, it's a big one for us. It gets more information out to more fans. Again, not in isolation, but it sounds like a lot of hassle. It doesn't need to be. We use MailChimp, which is free. Up until 2,000 subscribers. We've started building a database, so we're trying to pull in data from all different ways, and yeah, it's very valuable in my eyes, and it's one that I always push my clients to really sort of invest time in.
Is there a caveat there that if you can monetize it, like don't send an email just for the heck of it, or is there a value in staying connected?
stay connected. Keep people up to date on what you're doing. I think one of the things I asked in our fan survey. So, after I did the committee survey, once it properly got started, I did a fan survey, and one of the things that I've asked in the last couple of years is, what would you like to hear from us? Is it youth updates? Because if you're following there, you're going to know the first team scores, but you're probably not going to know what's happening with our youth teams or reserve teams or whatever. And even, on our database, we've got people that dip in and out of supporting there, but I want to keep them up to date on what's going on and all the cool stuff that we've been doing and show, because we're trying to change perception of the club that is seen as a bit dated, that, actually, look at all this cool shit that, I don't know.
No, you can swear. It's all right.
Yeah, look at all this cool shit that the club are doing. I never used to think Nairn County did that sort of thing, but they are doing that. And, then people are talking about it in the town. And then all of a sudden, we hope to pick up revenue from them down the line. It's playing the long game at a club like Nairn. But it's so invaluable in my eyes.
It's like, if there's a positive side to the water torture, it's that, isn't it? Like the constant drip, drip, drip. And then all of a sudden you've got a cup of water. I don't know if that analogy works, but anyway. All of this, whether it's the forms, whether it's the emails, whether it's the TikTok videos, whether it's the plan, whatever, right? You said yourself, you're remote, and you're only one man, and you're a young father, and you've got a job, and. How do you cope with the lack of required skill set in a volunteer base?
Have to go and source it. So that's basically accepted that there's certain things I'm not going to be able to do just now. So if this had been at Scotland national team, or I would just go, right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to create this great video. We're going to do this. We're going to do whatever it is. I'm not a designer. I can do basics, which probably, if you look back at Nairn County staff from about Christmas time through to the summer, you would have seen that. But what I did was identified, well, I can't be there on match days, and our match day, updates are non-existent, really. So for people like me who are remote but still want to know what's going on with the club, I need to get somebody on a match day to be able to give us live updates from the game and make it feel like you're there as much as possible. And from a design perspective, I was like, this is two things I need. I need a designer that can give us new branding and bring us singing and dancing into some sort of modern feel to the club, and that match day element. So went out and put out on my social media, anybody interested. And again, I'm fortunate because of what I've worked in. I've got an audience of some sort that put me in touch with people, or people I've been following, or I managed to get two people. Now we're based in the north of Scotland, so it's difficult. It's a smaller pool of people, whereas when I live in Glasgow, it's easier to get people down here to volunteer at the club. So our designer is based in London. He's Scottish but based in London, so he does it remote. Obviously, our match day guy travels through each day from Elgin, which is 22 miles away. But I was going, I can't do everything myself. I want to do a lot more for the club, or we want to do a lot more as a club, but we need to bring people in. Tomorrow, so we're recording this. Tomorrow, after we record this, I'm speaking to the local high school to speak about, people coming in. I've spoke to the local university in Inverness, which is 15 miles away, going, we want to do more. We want to open ourselves up as a club to help the students, but we also, we want people to come in and help. And as part of the survey, the fan survey we do every year, at the end, towards the end of the survey, I give a list of volunteer roles that we'd like to fill at the club. What we did was, the first year we did was just drop in your email address if you'd like to help support the club, and you've got one or two. But all of a sudden, because we specified specific roles and whether they could select what they were interested in, the interest in helping, went a lot higher, because people go, oh, actually, I would quite like to go and do match day support, or we managed to we didn't even say we were looking for a goalkeeper coach, but we had enough people looking for coaching that we recognised one of the names that used to be a goalkeeper for one of the other side teams in there, and we were like, well, do you want to come and be a goalkeeper coach? And we've managed to pick up additional hospitality help, grounds help. We've got people interested in doing more stuff, coaching in the community, which we don't even offer. So it was all by just calling out specific.
Yeah, I guess if you're just saying, "Will you come and help us?" It's like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm going to end up doing. I don't want to be the person that ends up sweeping the changing rooms or whatever, right? We need someone to do this specific job.
Yeah, so did that. We've been looking for somebody that might do some video stuff, and we might hopefully have somebody that's going to do a Nairn sort of video piece for us over the season, and he's from the university. So, it's a case of either knowing, as I said, you can't do everything. There's a lot of stuff I want to be able to do, but I just need to go on the front foot and find people that'll do it for me.
Don't be afraid to ask, for sure. Yeah. John? No? All right now. Okay. Episode 4, which only makes sense if people are looking at the listings, doing things a bit differently. Getting PR for a pie in a roll and creating stag and hen party packages, right? We can talk about those specifically, but are you saying then, like, stop trying to do things the way that everyone else has done stuff, stand out from the crowd in however you can?
So if you go on the new Nairn County website, which you would see that we've put 3 values that we want to do as a club. We want to be brave. We want to start. We're in a team, a league of 18 clubs. So there's 17 other clubs in that league. We want to be able to stand out from them. We're not going to win the league in the next few years, but we want to be able to show that we are a progressive modern club that does things a little bit differently. We want to be community driven, and we want to be proud. We're proud of the club, proud of the town, etc. So, doing things differently, it is. Especially at our level, you can just plod along and just do the same thing as everybody else, and that's fine. Or you can have a bit of fun with it, and we'll try to have a bit of fun where we can.
Yeah, Jesse Cole, right, and Savannah Bananas and all that nonsense is going on. It's that, but on a much smaller, cheaper basis, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they take it to the extreme, which works for them brilliantly.
Can you imagine that in the UK? I don't think the UK would take very nicely to that.
It doesn't. The UK culture is very different. And for a club at our level, which is one tier outside the league system, to go to that extreme, it takes time, I'd say, but we can certainly take a lot of learnings. I have taken, I try to follow and read and watch a lot about the Savannah Bananas, and I believe there's a documentary now over your side so I'll have to try and find some sort of way to watch that, and
we'll see what we can do for you.
So try to take learnings though and apply it, and why can't we, we've just done different things to what's happening in Scotland, and beyond that we're trying to do more and more.
Being a club just isn't enough, is it? And doing things the same old way worked, but isn't going to work today. So you've got to at least try.
Yeah, and it'll work for some people, but you keep doing the same thing with the same people, and unfortunately, like you alluded to it, our fan base is old, and if you can't inspire the next lot to come through and support you and follow you and get involved, then you're running the risk that you're going to have nobody at some point.
For sure. John and I were talking earlier about kits and whatnot. We have a standard kit, and then we do a charity tie-in with a local charity once a year, whereby we say, hey, we'll design a kit for you and we'll emblazon your name on it, and you get half the proceeds just as long as you help us promote it. And it's gone fairly well, right, John? Just nod if you listen.
Yeah. No, it's an easy thing to do to loop in another organization in our community to either let them know we exist or provide a tangible benefit service to them. Obviously, it's a little self-serving that we promote the kit with our logo on it as well, but they're the front sponsor, and I think it's a simple thing that's easy to explain to people. It doesn't take a lot of work. It's been a good thing the first couple of years we've done it.
Yeah. That's my segue into, you've done stuff with the Nairn County jersey as well, right? To sort of not revolutionise it, but get it in front of more than 7 people in Tesco.
Yeah, we'd be lucky if we could get in Tesco. We did. As you said, having a charity kit's nothing new. It's not revolutionary. There's people in Scotland that do that already. But for Nairn, for the Highland League, it's not really something that has been done before. And, one of the things when I got involved, that, as I said, I'm quite a creative person. I like to have a creative outlet. So to be able to design or get kits designed for the club you grew up on your doorstep is quite exciting. And one of the things, I think is probably to put the third kit, the charity kit, in context, is to talk about the home and away quickly. Is that I wanted, when we play with a third kit in Scottish Highland League, do we need a third kit? I always wonder at our level, no, we don't. But we had one last time around, and I was like, right, well, I want to do something special with that third kit, but what I want to do is something special with all the kits, and I want each kit in its own way to represent the town of Nairn. So the home kit has features on the front of the kit is the outline of, we've got what's the best word to describe it? If you saw the bandstand, basically, it's a feature in there, and it's down by the sea. It's instantly recognisable as a landmark in there. So
if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. So it's on the front of the home kit. The away kit. So our postcode, zip code in Nairn is IV12, and then whatever your street name. So in the UK, it could be your postcode would be IV12, which represents Nairn, and then the 5LT is the road or street that you are on. So I think that 5LT is the station road, which is our stadium's postcode. But what I wanted to do is have every IV12 postcode on our strip with IV12s on the sleeve, and so all of a sudden people are looking to find their own street name on that and shirt, and it's very Nairn. It's very, and then with the third kit was the charity idea of it, and I go into it in a lot more detail on the podcast, and that's not a plug for the podcast. It's just there's a bit of a lengthy story.
I think we plugged it enough already. You're good.
Yeah, but Team Hamish is a local Nairn charity. It's a very sad story and heartbreaking story of how it came about. Long story short, is basically family, mum, dad, brother, sister. The brother dies of leukemia cancer at the age of 8 years old, and then so to create a legacy for him in the town of Nairn, the mum, dad, and sister start fundraising, create this charity to build a splash pad down. Funny enough, not that far away from the bandstand, but down by the beach. Before the bandstand, before the splash pad even opens, the mum dies of cancer. So this legacy for Susan and Hamish is there, and they were going into phase 2. And Team Hamish obviously touched a lot of people in the town, so it was a no-brainer. If we're going to try and do something useful, and that's the way I've looked at it. This is not us trying to profiteer out of anything. It's actually trying to use something that I didn't buy into, that we really needed it, but let's turn it into something a lot more useful. They're going into phase 2 of their fundraising, and so we created what is a very bright and vibrant rainbow-inspired kit with Team Hamish on the front. Fortunately, our main sponsor, who was new, bought into the idea, and we're happy to go in the back. And look, long story short with it is that we've never sold as many kits in the first week of launching it. We sold out in 3 days of that kit. I think just to put things in perspective, the most kits we've ever sold, or shirts we've ever sold in any given week, is probably about 12, 12, 15. We sold all 70 that we had available at that time plus loads of home and away in that first week.
Yeah.
And we've just put an order in for 220 new third kits. We've
Well
never ordered that many kits. We've never sold that many kits as a collective across the course of a season. We're trying to do it all within 6 months, not even. So,
and then all of a sudden you'll talk. It's more than just local awareness, isn't it? It's then you're not trying to be an international brand, of course you're not. But at some point, there's a tipping point where you don't care where that $50 is coming from, right? It could be coming from Irish World.
We're donating £10 from every adult shirts going to Team Hamish, and $5 from every kid's shirt. Because and we've had people in England, posting on our tagging us in on Twitter from like Nottingham and other places who've got no connection to Nairn, but they've bought the shirt. They love the shirt, and we've got so much coverage from it. We've featured on the local news. It's been one that has really captured the imagination, which has been great for the charity. It's been great for the club. Obviously, I can't look at it and say we've not benefited out of this, because we have. But the purpose of that was to, charity first, but we want to piggyback a little bit on that as well.
Probably you've made for yourself now, though, is that you've set the bar, right? So the next charity jersey is coming in expecting 500 sales, and yeah.
Yeah, I know. Here, it's funny because we're a club, again, Nonleague club, so we've committed to having our kit for 2 years, so our home and away. Our third kit will probably have, we haven't set a time on that, but we'll probably just tie it all in. But you're right, yeah, we've gone big, which is good. I was told once that if you've got a good idea, don't sit on it. So just get it out there, go and do it, and it's fun pressure to have now is to go, how can I outdo that charity kit I've got? I already know what we're going to do for home and away, and I think our away one will be pretty special next time around, and I'm just a bit impatient having to think about it. I need to wait for that, but yeah, got a little bit of time to figure out what we're going to do that side.
How involved is the club with driving you? Like, obviously you're self-driven because you're self-employed and all the rest of it, and you love what you do and you're doing it for the good of men. But are they imposing any sort of targets or KPIs on you?
No, because we're all volunteer, to be fair, and I think there's definitely been a bit more motivation with the new chairman, and conversations I've had with him about, he's not saying that I need to do X by then, because that's just a surefire way that you're going to drive volunteers away, is by putting too much pressure on people. Doing these kits, I'd never been through a kit launch. I'd launched kits before with the Scotland national team, but I've never been through from the design all the way through, and bloody hell, it's stressful. That, how's this going to turn out? That rainbow kit was not knowing how it was going to turn out, if it's going to be as vibrant as we all hope it's going to be, and whatever else. And it's tough, and it's times like that you question, I'm doing all this for free. Do I need this stress in my life? Do I need to be spending hours and late night emails going back and forth? And do I need to be doing all this? And so it's the same as when I brought on Gary and Ewan, who do the social and the design stuff. Is I've said to them, one, I'm not going to be on your case all the time. I'm not. As soon as you stop enjoying it, then it's not that I've not been doing my job right in terms of what I've been bringing you on to do. There's not going to be that added pressure. You tell me what you can do, and I'll work around you. And that's just the nature we're at. If I was paying those two, then it's a whole different ballgame, because all of a sudden I've got high standards that I'm expecting. Like, anybody that's worked in my teams before, I like to think I'm a good boss and stuff like that, but I've got high standards, and you don't accept the second best, or that it's going to be okay. But sometimes in there, I have to accept that. It's probably not what I would have liked if I had more time, or we could work on this full time or whatever else. Sometimes you just got to go with it. And again, but for me, it's not putting that added pressure on some of the volunteers, because they are volunteering. It is for free, and it's the same as what's coming down the way from the chairman and such like.
For sure. I'm conscious of time, and I'm conscious that you've got a family life to get back to. The one last thing I wanted to touch on from the podcast was the communication channels you've opened up with the fan base over and above the internal workers. Like, obviously, you're doing fan surveys and whatever else, but what's the interest been from fans to give feedback rather than just say, "Oh, it's shit" because we're British and everything's shit?
Yeah, first time around, I think they were pretty shocked at the club, or they never said it, but I'd assume they were pretty shocked that the club's actually asking for an opinion, and that's an historic thing more than anything. Second time around, we've got even more responses. We're getting feedback now. We did a stall, for example. So again, speak about this in podcasts, but Nairn Highland Games is the biggest social event on the Nairn calendar. It happens in August every year. It's the Highland Games. People who grew up in the town who maybe don't live there come back for it. The whole town pretty much comes out for it. And for the first time in could be 30 odd years, potentially 40 years, that the club had a presence, had a stall. And that was driven by myself, and managed to rope my stepdad into helping on it. Yeah, and the Team Hamish kit, don't get me wrong, the charity kit was a great one to attract people to the stall that maybe would not necessarily stop. But once you had people there and chatting to them, the feedback was amazing. I ended up speaking to local councillors who were wanting to know more about what we're doing as a club, and taking them through, and the conversations we ended up having was brilliant. There's a couple of guys that started a kids football team, and they want to figure out a way longer term that they can get involved with the club on a more official capacity. That was all just coming from conversations of being there at the time. So yeah, it was great. The fan survey gets you the online digital one, but there's something to be said for face-to-face conversations and as well, and it's been great. We know we need to do a lot more, but again, we're doing this on a part-time volunteer basis, and
great, wouldn't it? Great. Yeah.
It's come a bit closer to the town than ever, but it's about doing more of that sort of thing, and we know again it's not a short-term thing. We need to keep doing it, but it's been encouraging, to see, and results for us on the pitch have not been going our way this season so far, and a lot of the frustrations are directed towards the football side at the moment in time, and that's difficult because especially having worked with the Scotland national team, you know that what you're doing in the background is you're putting all the foundations in place. You're doing is you're chipping away so when the losses and whatever else happen, people are not going to the lowest of lows that they were maybe there before. They're still going to get low. You can't stop that, but you're building off a sort of slightly higher platform than the last time. And then when things do go well, in our case at the Scotland national team, we managed to qualify for the European Championships, Euro 2020. You've got this springboard that all of a sudden, all channels are a go. Your retail's kicking off, your emails, your whatever else. And that's what we're trying to put in place in there. We're trying to make a difference on what we're doing just now, and it's making a difference. The football side's not at the same level at the moment in time, and that's just the nature of football. The results will come. We're an ambitious, as I said, we've got new ambitious people on the committee who want us to be challenging at the top end of the table, not where we are at the moment in time. And when that comes, then we are ready, or I'll hopefully have everything ready that we can again capitalise on that even further.
Yeah, two things very quickly. One, just so I'm clear in my head, the Highland League, right, nominally the fifth tier. Winning it doesn't mean the Pro Rel is a big hot topic over here. Doesn't mean you automatically gain entry to the Scottish Pyramid, right? Is it still election or is it by choice? Like, can you turn it down? So
unfortunately, you don't get automatic promotion. But what happens is, so there's another league at the fifth tier. It's the Lowland League, funny enough. And so the winner of the Highland League will play the winner of the Lowland League, and then the winner of that tie will then face in a two-legged playoff against the bottom team of the SPFL League Two. So there's the Premiership in Scotland, which is the biggest club, Celtic Rangers. You've got the Championship, League One, and then League Two, and the bottom club of League Two. So last season, Bonnyrigg Rose beat. Who did they beat last season? They beat Cowdenbeath. So Bonnyrigg won the Lowland League. They beat Fraserburgh, who won the Highland League, and then so Bonnyrigg Rose then played Cowdenbeath and put them down in Bonnyrigg.
That's right. I remember Cowdenbeath being in my Panini sticker album back in the 80s. So that's a big fall for them.
Yeah, they were they were playing in the second tier only a few years ago. Same as Beacon City. They play in the same league as us now, and they were in the second tier not so long ago. So it's you don't get it a lot in American sport, but I suppose that's one of the charms of UK football is that teams can come out of nowhere or they can have a massive fall from grace.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous ground to start talking pro rel and any US soccer thing. You get all sorts of lunatics on both sides. John, have you got anything just before we wind up? I know you've been taking copious notes.
No. I've got a lot. I thank you for your time. I'm very excited to listen to these. There's eight short podcasts, I believe, in the series, right? So I'm looking forward to those, and I'm glad that I have your email and can pick your brain if I need to elaborate on anything. But no, I think it's great what you're doing. I think Nairn looks like a very similar project to what we're doing at our club. I've been, as you've been talking, I've been fishing around your club website and getting all kinds of ideas to throw at Nick. So, but I do appreciate it. It's a lot of good stuff, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Now the time has come for leaving, fear now we shall return. We were so glad we could make it, but so sad we gotta run. Well, it might be a long time till we raise another glass. You can rest assured that next time we'll have ourselves a laugh.